So we talked about this when we did our monochromatic right after when we did our vases, and we talked about light and dark. Now when the light is coming from one direction, I kind of made this little illustration, so it's pretty self-explanatory. But you can see where the light is shining directly. Even on the edge there, you can see these really light high points. Sometimes the reflection is actually lighter than direct light. But you can slowly see, like, this is the direct light area. And then as you move around to the opposite side of the vase, because it is this rounded area, you still have some direct light. But as you move around to the back side, you lose direct light. What's happening here is reflected light. Okay, so that's where you're getting this kind of not completely dark, like this is getting no reflected light. This up here is where you're getting these shades, because there's still light kind of bouncing around the room, and that's how you get these grays on the side. So the thing we want to work on in helping with our dimension of making things is these really amazing shading and use of shadow and light. Now, pretty sure you study Greek mythology, I believe, at some point. If you don't, no big deal. I want to just go through. There's quite a few different types. So what I'm going to ask you to do is just pick one of these to draw. If you don't feel like doing anything too difficult, it's fine. You can just do something like this or something like this. What they're not showing you here is kind of this rounded area. So the top round, we've talked about this, and we'll go over it when we do my example in just a second. So what you need to do when you start, here, let's do stop share. I'm going to go right into mine. And then I want to do so that no, not you. I want to be the big guy on campus. Okay, that's me. All right, so what you're going to do, though, is first you need to figure out where your sun's going to be. Okay, so I'm going to say my sun is right here, and then this is where it's going. So stay muted for me, okay? And then, well, actually, you'd probably do this the opposite direction. You'd probably do the vase first. I'm going to do a really simple vase. We've talked about this before, but I'm just going to review with you. So when you do the top, you want to do the opening almost like an oval. Okay, and whatever little, it's not an angle, it's kind of a curve. Whatever curve you have here, you need to replicate down here, because in pottery, I hope that looks fairly similar to that. It's almost like a parallel curve. Okay, so that will help you so that it will stand on the table. We're not going to worry about making the table. But when you do these kind of lips, they call these kind of these things lips around here when you're doing the top part of a vase. Okay, and then I'm just going to do a simple vase. We've done, like I said, we've done this before in class. I want you to do a Greek vase this time. So I'm going to try and do it somewhat balanced, but I'm kind of not in front of my paper, so bear with me. Oops, a little lopsided. Okay. And I don't have the best pencil either. So my bottom's not looking real good from your perspective. Okay, so that's a basic vase. A lot of vases aren't balanced on either side, and that's okay. But since my light is here, this is going to be pretty much where the light's going to stop. So on this side, you're going to have the darkest area. So obviously the darkest area is the one that's furthest away from the light, where there is absolutely no light. So it's going to be down here. You can actually go in and just make it black. That's how I kind of like to do it. Make sure you're muted, guys. Make sure you're muted. So I like to just go in, just make it black. It's done. The other, as you know, the other really dark place that's not going to get any light is actually inside this little lip here, because this is gonna guard from it. So there's not going to be any light. So maybe inside here, there's going to be a little bit of a darkness. It's going to give you that. kind of inside dip. It helps with that. So when you're working with shadow, that's how you're going to get dimension with this. Now you can see this little line right here that I just did it when I was, that actually helps accentuates this curve. So some people like to do their shading where they're actually moving along with the curve, and it just varies. The touch of their pencil varies. And then you can always do what's called a cross hatching, is this kind of thing. That's another style. You can pretty much, or you can go in. You can even use your finger and smooth it out, okay? But I want you to challenge yourself. I know you did this style of vase. You've done that. Now I want to challenge you with actually having to do highlights, or let's say this kind of detailing that you've seen on those vases. So now you have to think about what's actually getting the light and what's not. It's a little bit difficult. It's another layer of how light and dark mix. So I'd have one on this side. Okay, so obviously this is going to be my lightest area. And under here is going to be my darkest area. Under here might be a little bit. So one of the things you can do with what we did with those names, if you'll remember, like some of the letters didn't have lines that went all the way to the 1 point perspective. It's very similar to light. So if you have to go through the vase in order to get to your light source, there's not going to be any light in that spot. Okay, so if I drew a line from this spot right here, I would have to go through the entire vase in order to reach the sun. But if I go right here, I'm immediately at the sun. So you know that that's going to be where the light is going to hit. This, you have to stop here. So you have a little bit of light that goes further, okay? So you kind of do it the same way. So here, if I look at the light source, right here is going to be a little bit darker. So I'm going to go in and actually make this area a little bit darker. And then of course this area, because that have to go through the handle, is going to be the darkest as well. You also have a new shadow here, because if you look at this section right here of this vase, it doesn't go through to the light. So now you have to consider that this handle is going to give you a little bit of a shadow right here. So that's where this challenge is going further than when we did it before, okay? So just think about your light source, what kind of vase, and just work with your shading. You can do cross hatching. Like I said, you can do smudging if you want, if that's how you like to do it. Some people even like to do just really busy shading. That's fine. You can do it with the curve of the vase, which sometimes, actually, like I said, actually helps with the accentuation of the curvature and the depth of the vessel. Okay, so I am going to. Can you show the vases again? I absolutely can, and I'm also going to. I will put them up in your feed as well. I'm going to put this link on my YouTube channel, so you'll be able to see it anytime you want to. Okay, so hold on tight. Let me end, or let me do share screen again. There we go. So I'm going to send you this page, so don't worry. I'm going to send you this exact page.